You guys will never believe what happened. I'm Chloe, living in the lakeside town of Cresthaven, chasing my dream of becoming a painter who captures the soul of fleeting moments on canvas. Tonight, I was out late with co-workers at a local bar, just unwinding, when Daniel, my colleague, a former literature professor with graying hair, warm brown eyes, and a voice that could read poetry to life, offered to walk me home. It was just a quiet stroll through Cresthaven streets, totally harmless, until it wasn't. Want to know how it went down? Keep watching, because this story's all about one walk that takes a shortcut to something electric. Like and subscribe for more. The evening was cool in Cresthaven, the air alive with the hum of crickets and the soft lapping of the lake, its scent of damp earth and water weaving through the dimly lit streets. Chloe had spent the night at a local bar with coworkers, celebrating a gallery project's success, her laughter mingling with clinking glasses and jazz from a jukebox. Her historic family home, her sanctuary with creaking oak floors and ivy-draped windows, was a short walk away, but the night's energy left her buzzing, her paintings bold strokes mirroring the dangerous desires that simmered beneath her poised exterior, always seeking a spark to ignite them. Tonight, those desires flared on a quiet street, sparked by a simple offer from Daniel, her colleague, whose steady presence had become a story she couldn't stop reading. At 59, Daniel was a former literature professor turned gallery consultant, his quiet confidence intriguing Chloe since she joined the team a year ago. His graying hair was neatly swept back, his warm brown eyes carried the depth of decades analyzing novels, and his hands, steady from years of turning pages, moved with a deliberate grace that felt like a well-crafted sentence. His "good work today, Chloe," at the gallery, paired with a reserved smile, had always felt professional but distant, like a book on a high shelf. She'd told herself it was just admiration for a colleague who'd once quoted Keats while praising her art, who'd shared stories of teaching in London over coffee breaks. But her dangerous desires, always lurking, stirred a curiosity she couldn't quiet, and tonight, those desires took a shortcut when Daniel offered to walk her home. The bar's neon glow faded behind them as they stepped onto Cresthaven streets, the cobblestones uneven underfoot, streetlights casting soft pools of amber light. The air was thick with the scent of autumn leaves, lake water, and a trace of Daniel's cologne cedarwood, crisp and grounding, like an old library. Chloe's light jacket fluttered in the breeze, her hair loose, catching the glow of a street lamp as they walked side by side. Daniel had offered to walk her home when the group dispersed, his voice calm but warm. "It's late, Chloe. I'll make sure you get home safe." She'd nodded, her heart flickering with gratitude and a bolder spark, her dangerous desires nudging her forward as they began their stroll. Their conversation started like gallery gossip, the bar's jazz playlist, but the quiet street, framed by old oaks and the distant lake's shimmer, felt intimate, like a canvas waiting for its first stroke. Chloe's mind drifted to flashes of their past interactions, each a sentence in their quiet connection. She recalled their first meeting when Daniel had welcomed her to the gallery with a nod, a book of poetry under his arm, his eyes lingering as he complimented her first exhibit piece. Another memory surfaced a late afternoon in the gallery's break room, where he'd shared a story about a Shakespeare lecture, his voice warm as she teased him about his vintage fountain pen. Then there was the quiet moment when he'd admired her latest painting, a starry lakescape, his hand brushing hers as he pointed to a detail, his voice soft. "You've got a poet's eye, Chloe." A more recent evening flickered when she'd lingered at his desk, discussing an art book, his gaze holding hers as he said, "You make every canvas feel like a story." Each memory carried a spark she'd tried to dismiss, blaming his reserve on professional distance. But now, on this street, the air hummed with possibility, like a story waiting to unfold. The street curved toward the lake, the cobblestones slick from an earlier drizzle, the air cool against Chloe's skin. Their steps fell into a rhythm, their shoulders brushing occasionally, each touch accidental but electric. Daniel spoke of a novel he'd been reading, his voice a steady hum, like a professor reciting prose, but Chloe's focus drifted to the warmth of his presence, the cedarwood scent mingling with the night air. A gust of wind pushed them closer, their hands brushing as they steadied themselves, the contact sending a spark through her like paint hitting a fresh canvas. Neither pulled away, their fingers lingering, the street's quiet amplifying the moment, the lake's hum a soft heartbeat in the background. Daniel's breath hitched, his eyes flickering to their hands, then back to hers, his voice low, cautious. We should keep walking, he said, his tone steady but strained, like a professor guarding a rare manuscript. It's late, Chloe, and it's getting complicated. His brown eyes caught the streetlight's glow, a quiet tension humming beneath his words. Chloe's heart raced, her smile bold but soft, her fingers lingering in his. Why complicate things? She said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her hazel eyes unwavering. It feels right, doesn't it? Her dangerous desires took a shortcut, the street shrinking to just them, the lakes shimmer a quiet backdrop, the crickets hum a soft rhythm. Their conversation deepened, their steps slowing, their hands still brushing, as they stood under a flickering street lamp, its amber light casting shadows across their faces. Chloe opened up more than she'd planned, the intimacy of the moment loosening her guard. She spoke of her painting, how it felt like capturing a moment's soul before it slipped away. It's like, I'm trying to hold on to something fleeting, she said, her voice soft but fervent, her fingers brushing his, the contact grounding her like a brush on canvas. I want my art to make people feel alive, like a story you can't forget. Does that sound too ambitious? Her eyes searched his, seeking the man behind the reserved smiles, her dangerous desires urging her to push beyond the walk. Daniel nodded, his hand still brushing hers, close enough that she could feel its warmth, a quiet strength like a well-turned page. Not too ambitious, he said, his voice low, resonant, like a professor reciting a favorite line. Your paintings have that spark, Chloe. I saw it in that lakescape you showed me alive, like a poem that lingers. It's captivating. His words were measured, but a new weight lingered in them, a hesitation that made her pulse quicken, her curiosity flaring like a sentence finding its mark. She tilted her head, the cobblestones cool underfoot, the scent of lake air mingling with the cedarwood of his cologne and the faint dampness of the night. Captivating? She teased, her voice playful but edged with daring, her hazel eyes locking on his, their brown depths reflecting the streetlight like a book's cover. That's a big word for the coworker who just paints in her attic. You sure you're not just being kind because you're walking me home? Her dangerous desires pushed her forward, the street narrowing to just their shared space. The crickets hum a soft pulse, the lakes shimmer a quiet witness. He chuckled, his hand lingering in hers, his eyes holding hers a moment longer than usual, a flicker of something unguarded in his gaze. I'm not that kind, he said, his voice warm but tinged with a quiet intensity, like a professor revealing a hidden theme. You're not just a co-worker, Chloe. You've got this fire in your art, in the way you carry yourself. You're walking here, hand brushing mine, and it's hard to pretend this is just a walk home. The lake's hum mingled with the night's quiet, the air heavy with the scent of cedarwood and the weight of their moment, the streetlight casting golden flecks across their faces. Chloe's mind raced, weaving through more memories that deepened their connection. She remembered a spring afternoon when Daniel had stopped by her gallery desk to share a poetry anthology, lingering to discuss her latest sketch, his voice warm as he said, "You see beauty like a poet sees words." Another moment flickered a late evening at the gallery when he'd helped her hang a canvas, his hand brushing hers, his smile brief but carrying a warmth that lingered in her chest. There was the time he'd paused by her easel, admiring her painting of Cresthaven's pier, his voice soft as he said, "Your work stays with me, Chloe." And a quiet moment last week, when he'd lingered after a meeting, his eyes catching hers as he said, "You make every project feel like art." Each memory was a page, tightening the narrative between them, pulling her closer to the edge of something bold, her heart pounding with the possibility that his reserve was hiding a deeper story. Their steps slowed further, the street lamps glow framing them as the clock neared midnight, the lakes hum a quiet pulse in the background. Chloe shared more than she'd intended, her dangerous desires loosening her tongue. She spoke of her fears that her paintings might go unnoticed, her dream to create art that lingered like a memory. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm chasing something impossible," she admitted, her voice softer now, her fingers brushing his, the contact grounding her like a finished stroke. "But when I paint, it's like I'm alive in a way I can't explain. Do you ever feel that way about literature?" Her eyes searched his, her heart seeking not just connection, but a glimpse of the man beneath, the professor, the lake's hum echoing her pulse. Daniel leaned closer, their hands still brushing, the contact sending a spark through her like a sentence hitting the perfect note. "Every time I read something that feels true," he said, his voice low, resonant, like a professor sharing a private passage. "Your lakescape painting did that, Chloe. It's not just art, it's you. poured onto the canvas. That kind of fire, it's rare. His words carried a new intensity, a crack in his reserved facade, and the air between them shifted, the street lamp's light amplifying the moment, her plan gaining momentum like a story finding its climax. "Hey guys," Chloe said, her voice bright but laced with mischief, as if speaking to her imaginary audience, her eyes glinting as she paused under the street lamp, breaking the tension for a moment. "We're about to get into the spicy portion of the story, so please don't forget to like and subscribe." She grinned, the words a playful nod to her daring, but her heart pounded as she stepped closer, their hands brushing again, the contact sending a spark through her like paint hitting a blank canvas. "You didn't pull away," she said softly, her voice charged with truth, her hazel eyes unwavering. "Our hands brushed, and you're still here. Why does it feel like this isn't just a walk home anymore, Daniel?" The moment held, the silence electric, the lakes hum a distant pulse as the street narrowed to just them, the cobblestones, the street lamp, the lake's silver shimmer casting shadows like a spotlight. Her heartbeat quickened, her breath steady, but charged, her dangerous desires taking a shortcut like a bold stroke across a canvas. She'd accepted his offer for a walk, but now, with their hands brushing, her plan was unfolding, the air alive with possibility, the crickets hum a rhythm to their unspoken dance. Daniel's gaze softened, a slow smile tugging at his lips, his voice low, strained but warm, like a sentence finding its perfect ending. "It's not just a walk, Chloe," he said, his eyes flickering to their hands, then back to hers, a spark of something unguarded breaking through his reserved demeanor. "You've got this way of pulling people in, making them see the world through your art. I've been trying to keep things professional, to stay the colleague, but you're making that impossible." Her smile widened, her heart soaring, the tension, a living thing between them, pulsing like the street lamp's glow. "Maybe I like making it impossible," she said, her voice teasing but honest, stepping closer, her hand brushing his deliberately now, the contact electric, sending a shiver through her like ink spilling across a page. "Maybe I don't want you to stay just the colleague anymore." Her eyes locked on his, the lake's hum swelling like a cue, her plan unfolding in the charged silence. He laughed, a low, warm sound, his hand lingering near hers, the touch sparking a fire in her chest that felt like a painting coming to life. "Your trouble, Chloe," he said, his voice rich with amusement and intensity, his brown eyes twinkling with a warmth she hadn't seen before, like a professor uncovering a hidden story. "I've been trying to keep my distance, to keep things professional. But you stand here, hand brushing mine, and I'm supposed to stay composed? You're rewriting every line I've got." Her breath caught, the street shrinking further, the street lamp framing them like a final act on a stage. Her friend's warning echoed faintly, "He's just being polite, Chloe. Don't read into it," but her friend was wrong. This was real, raw, and electric, a moment painted in bold strokes. "Maybe I like rewriting lines," she said, her hand pressing lightly against his, the touch grounding her like a canvas under a brush. "What do you want, Daniel? Now that we're here, hands brushing, on this quiet street." He leaned back slightly, his smile slow, deliberate, his eyes tracing her face like he was reading a rare manuscript. "I want to see where this story goes," he said, his voice soft but weighted, like a professor unveiling a hidden theme. "You're bold, Chloe, bolder than I was ready for. You stand here, with that spark in your paintings, in your eyes, and you're turning my world upside down. I'm not sure I want to stop you." The air was thick with possibility, the crickets hum fading to a soft pulse, the street alive with their shared moment, the lakes hum a quiet rhythm in the background. Chloe's dangerous desires took a shortcut, her heart racing with the thrill of her plan coming to life, the intimacy of the street amplifying every glance, every word. "You're making it really hard to keep this professional," she teased, her voice a mix of playfulness and truth, her hazel eyes locked on his, her courage holding her steady like a brush in her hand. He chuckled, his fingers curling slightly around hers, the touch warm and electric, like a spark in a quiet library. "Professionals overrated," he said, his voice low, rich, carrying the weight of their moment, the street lamp casting a golden glow across his face. "What do you want, Chloe? Now that we're here, hands brushing at midnight." Her heart pounded, the memory of his words echoing, the spark of his touch still warm on her skin. What did she want? The solitude of her studio, the quiet night she'd expected? Or this him, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her heart, as vivid as her paintings. I want to keep this, she said, her voice steady now, her eyes locked on his, her hand pressing against his, the contact grounding her like a finished painting ready to be hung. This feeling, this moment, you. His smile widened, his eyes twinkling with warmth and intensity, like a professor seeing a story come to life. That's a bold choice, he said, his voice soft but charged. The lakes hum a soft pulse, leaving only the faint rustle of leaves and the street lamp's gentle glow. But I've always been a fan of bold. The street was still, the street lamp a golden glow, reflecting their moment like a perfectly framed painting. Daniel's hand lingered near hers, the air alive with possibility, the night's quiet wrapping them like a canvas. The lake shimmered in the distance, its silver light a quiet witness to their connection. Good night, Chloe, he said, his voice soft but heavy with meaning, his eyes holding hers as he stepped back, offering her a way out but leaving the door wide open, the street lamp casting long shadows behind him. Good night, Daniel, she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her heart pounding as she stood by her gate, the spark between them brighter than the street lamp's glow. She watched him walk away, Cresthaven's rhythm soothing, the lake's hum a soft applause in the night. As she leaned against her gate, her heart ablaze with the thrill of what might come next, she knew her dangerous desires had taken a shortcut, turning a simple walk into a spark, leaving only a daring new chapter, one fearless stroke at a time. If you loved this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Chloe's Dangerous Desires. What's next for me and Daniel? Stick around to find out. See you in the next one.